True sit yak sa inchut. Hello, it's inchut here. Shawn Atleo from the Assembly of First Nations. Thank you, President Loenza, for the kind invitation to address the annual Canadian Auto Workers Council meeting taking place in Port Elgin, Ontario. I regret not able to be there in person with you. As we do amongst us as Indigenous peoples, I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional territory of the Saugeen Nation. As some of you may know, Saugeen Nation is part of the Robinson Treaty of 1854, a living agreement where First Nations and the Crown promised to share equal bounties from the land. This and other treaty promises have gone largely unfulfilled, and more than a century later, First Nations continue to uphold their end of the agreement, while much of Canada's wealth is derived from our lands and too many of our people remain without the basic standards of life. The sentiment "enough is enough" has never been so loud than in recent months. There has been an unprecedented engagement and mobilization of our peoples and an unprecedented attention to the issues: treaty implementation, fair and equitable education, resource revenue sharing, accessible health care, adequate housing, and community safety and security, just to name a few. With these great challenges comes great opportunity. Now is an exceptionally exciting time for First Nations and for Canada. Our young people are the fastest growing population in the country. More and more we are driving economic potential and partnership in our territories. Our nations are building and rebuilding, growing strength from the urgent need for change for our peoples and in our communities. More and more First Nations are in the driver's seat, overcoming our challenges and creating the communities where our peoples can learn to grow and thrive. We are well on our way to achieving the fundamental and transformative change required for First Nations and all of Canada. But we cannot do it alone. There is a role for everyone. As one of the largest private sector unions in Canada, the Canadian Auto Workers can join our call for action and stand with us in advocating for practical solutions to eliminating poverty among First Nations once and for all. Number one, First Nations deserve decent schools and education funding on the same level as the rest of Canada. This is a fundamental treaty right, along with health care that has been underfunded for generations. Number two, First Nations need infrastructure funding for clean water systems and safe homes so our children can grow up in healthy environments, which is essential in getting a proper education. This is not only a treaty right, it is a basic human right. As it stands right now, there are 27,000 First Nations children in state care, more than at the height of the residential school experience, while thousands of our young people are in jail or prison. This is a national tragedy. Number three, First Nations need access to skills training and post-secondary education in order to fill the growing labor gap in all sectors. If First Nations achieve employment parity with the rest of Canada, by 2016 we will contribute an additional $400 billion to the economy, while reducing social services spending by $115 billion. In closing, I want to point out that First Nations have had a long history as laborers and union members. Several generations of Mohawk steelworkers have been working continuously for 130 years, from the construction of the Dominion Bridge across the St. Lawrence River in 1886 to building many of today's bridges and skyscrapers across North America. The Ford Motor Company actively recruited First Nations from the Oneida and Chippewa First Nations to work at the now closed assembly plant in St. Thomas, and some band members worked at St. Thomas for over 30 years. I'd also like to acknowledge the upcoming day of mourning and extend my appreciation for everything CAW does to better ensure safety measures at the workplace. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you all today by video message. Now is an exceptionally exciting time for First Nations in all of Canada. The attention on the issues is unprecedented. We must continue to move forward, inspired by the energy of the young people, guided by the wisdom of our elders, and supported by all Canadians and all of you. No longer can First Nations children be denied an education that nurtures and supports their success. No longer can First Nations families be without adequate housing or clean drinking water. No longer can First Nations women and children feel unsafe and unsupported. It is incumbent upon this generation to ensure no others must live through the mistakes of the past. It's up to this generation to say enough is enough, and we have. We saw this clearly in the demonstrations, strategy sessions, and meetings in recent months, let alone our work across broad areas for decades. The time is now. and inaction is not an option. We must seize this moment of reckoning together. We are stronger together, and together we will achieve the change First Nations children and families need and deserve. I wish you all the best for a productive council meeting and look forward to exploring opportunities for us to work together in the future. Let go, let go. Thank you very much.